Dudes, welcome to Sense of Style. My name's Stuart. Thanks for tuning in. Holy Grails. What do I mean by a holy grail? We're all enthusiasts, right? Like, we've all been there. We've seen a fragrance get super hyped and you're like, oh, that's my style. I want that so bad. So you talk with your wife, you check your bank account. Can I get it? Can I get it? And then you go online. Like, is it available at the discounter right now? Is it available in my country? Can I even get it? Is it discontinued? Like, all those questions. And then all of a sudden everything converges and you're like, okay, I can order it. And then you order it and then you track the hell out of it. That's what I do, man. That's what I track it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's in today. And then you try it and it can make your week, for at least me, or, not. Sometimes these holy grails can be a disappointment, but I guarantee you there are some fragrances on this list that will really have been your holy grails. These are a lot of iconic fragrances that I'm talking about. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than when you get one in and it completes you or your collection. So that's what I mean by holy grails. Hopefully you guys can relate, and hopefully some of these will be ones that you've found to be holy grails too. Okay, the first fragrance I'm talking about is my most recent purchase, and I like this so much, I remember the date that I got it. It is Jora Parfum, and this is my number one holy grail fragrance. I got it on July 14th of this year. This is a winter fragrance if ever there was one, and that's right in the middle of the summer. But man, this has been impossible to get in North America. And for whatever reason, twice it popped up for about 24 hours on a couple of the discounters here. He got fluked out, went to Fragrantica, and I saw it was available, ordered it right away. And then July 14th, I got my bottle, and it is a 10. It lived up to everything I thought it would be. It is a leather fragrance, and it's much heavier and richer than Joram Intense. Definitely not as wearable, but I live in Canada. It's cold here. This is a great cold weather fragrance with phenomenal performance. Easily 12 hours, well beyond that actually. Leather, iris, and some oud and ambrette. It's just gorgeous. Okay, number two is not so much a fragrance, but it's more when I wanted to shift into more expensive fragrances. I had about 40 or 50, and then I decided, okay, look, I need to expand my horizons a little bit, and I wanted to go expensive, but I don't like to spend a lot of money on expensive fragrances. I bought samples from Louis Vuitton. Now, this is not a niche house technically, because they're a designer brand, but these are the fragrances here. They're the Le Cologne line, and each color is meant to represent something about California in the summer. So the blue is meant to be the sea of California, the yellow, the sun, and the green, the earth. These are super expensive. I think it's like, they start at like 250 American. Now they're called Le Cologne, but they're actually eau de parfums. This one is Afternoon Swim. This is the most hyped of the three. And really, this just smells like a really nice fresh glass of orange juice. Tons of orange, very nice orange, but it is the least interesting to me of the three, although it is a really nice fragrance. Performance is a little lacking in all three, even though they're EDPs. This one I really like. This one is Sun Song. This one is citron and musk, so it's like a musky citrus. Really works. Really, I've not smelled anything too similar to this. It feels original. It smells very pleasant. I really like this. This is a definite 8, and it does give you kind of a sunny feel. And then this green one, now this one's my favorite. It's called Cactus Garden. Most people don't tend to like this one, but what they did with it was they wanted to create an earthy feeling, kind of like if you're going for a walk among a bunch of cactuses, because the interior of California is desert-like, so there's a lot of cactuses there. And it really does, like when I picture in my mind what a cactus garden would smell like, it kind of does smell like it. Very earthy, really nice fragrance. They use mate tea and lemongrass of all things to get that feel. Some citrus off the top, but I just love it. And this actually, The Fragrantica rating's really low, but I think this is, for me anyway, this is a 10. What I got really lucky on though was they threw in this, which is Ombre Nomad, the sample. They are all 2 milliliter samples, but this is one of my top 3 fragrances of all time. This was the first time I'd ever smelled oud, and I thought, oh my God, I'll never wear anything other than oud, thinking that other oud fragrances were like this. But no, this is a super high quality oud fragrance with a touch of raspberry. It's like a sweet oud. And yeah, this is iconic. Also a 10. Now, next up, I have a fragrance, and I have to preface this by saying that, look, we're all very emotional about fragrances, right? Like, there was a channel that I was watching recently, and I watch it regularly, and the guy criticized a couple fragrances that I really liked. And then he crossed the Rubicon, and he really criticized the hell out of Prada Lum. And I mean, you can't do that to me. You know, like, I love this hobby so much. That was it for me. I'm like, I didn't watch him for a month. I'm not kidding, because I got angry. Here's the thing. The fragrance I'm going to talk about is iconic. It's just not for me. I'm not saying it's a bad fragrance. It's a hugely popular fragrance. But just bear in mind that yeah, I just don't happen to like this one. This one is Valentino Uomo Intense. And the reason I'm not so big into it is I like my iris with some sweetness, but I find this has a little bit too sweet for me. It is iconic fragrance. I know a lot of you will think I'm crazy. I have tons of iris fragrances. This is like a 5 or a 6. It's just not my favorite. The sweetness in this is just a little bit too much. This one is Ombre Leather. This is the only one I paid retail for. I went to the drugstore with a money burning hole in my pocket, and I wanted to get another fragrance that just happened to be there. And this one was there. I thought, I'll try it. And then this one just blew me away. I mean, the other fragrance is great too, and I ended up buying it a year later, but this is like beautiful, sweet leather, like very sort of new car leather kind of smell. It's gorgeous. Well, you guys all know this is easily a 9 out of 10, could be a 9.5. Phenomenal performance, just super nice. The next fragrance I'm going to talk about is actually 2 of them, and this has been 2019. I bought 4 fragrances that Jeremy Fragrance had been hyping to all hell. And 2 of them I bought full bottles, and the other 2 just samples. And the 2 that I bought full bottles of were the ones that he was just going on about endlessly. One of them was the original Le Male, and the other one was, well, of course, La Nuit de Lum. I like this right away. It's super sweet. It's nice. It's got some old school herbal notes, but it is very pleasant. It just wasn't the life-changing fragrance that he made it sound like it would be. It is a little dated because of all the herbal notes, but I still really like it, and I do think this is a hugely consequential fragrance in the evolution of men's fragrances, and I think it gets overlooked there. But in terms of wearability, like, I give it about a 7 out of 10. Like, it's good. Now, La Nuit de Lum, unfortunately, the other 3 fragrances that I got, including Le Male, were all powerful. So when I put this on, I was like, what the hell? Like, I can't even, I was livid, because this was easily the most expensive, the one that I spent the most money on, and I could hardly smell it. I put it away and didn't try it for a couple of months because I thought, you know, what am I going to do with it? And over time, I was better able to, you know, understand what it was trying to do and appreciate the subtle nature of it. And I would say now, today, you know, it's a 7. But I mean, I think the Blue Electrique is like an 8.5. I mean, that extra performance really makes it better. But yeah, this is still a solid fragrance. So I got another iconic one that I'm going to have to say I'm not a huge fan of. This is Pure Havane. And this was my very first sweet tobacco. And if you'd asked me like 2.5 years ago, do I like sweet tobacco? I would say it's okay. Now I'm like, I love it. But the reason that I'm not a huge fan of this is I just find it a little bit too sweet. The Amen line from Mugler is a gourmandy line. So you've got, you know, not just vanilla and tobacco, you've also got honey as well. So it's a very deep, rich, and I just find, again, like with the Valentino Uomo, and I love sweet fragrances, so this seems weird, but this is just a little bit too sweet when talking about sweet tobacco. And I know this is super iconic, so I'm not saying it's a bad fragrance at all, just not for me. Now, last Christmas, was rough for me. The channel wasn't doing well, and I was having a hard time at work. It was a real tough place to work, and I knew it was going to suck. Now, one good thing, though, was Fahrenheit Le Parfum had not been available all last year, and then right around Christmas, it became available. And I thought, I'm going to treat myself for Christmas. I'm going to buy this. And yeah, I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, I love the original Fahrenheit, and I like the way they updated this. It definitely has a lot of the original DNA. It's just not as toxic smelling, I like that toxic smell, but they've toned it down a little bit, but it's still there. And they've added a lot of vanilla and rum, and this is just beautiful. Next up is another fragrance that was a big one for me, really big. I had a lot of fragrances, and because I'm not a huge freshy guy, I didn't actually have anything from the Aqua di Gio DNA. I think I had at least 40 fragrances, and I never tried anything by this. And I thought, okay, I have to relent, but it's an expensive fragrance, and especially when you're not like a huge fan of super freshies. But this became available as a tester. It's got the notes on the back, and I just said, look, I can't be a real collector unless I have this. And even before I tried it, I felt like it had completed me. That's sad, but seriously, I just seeing the bottle and feeling the weight of it and knowing that I finally had Aqua di Gio, and I do really like it. Like, the performance is phenomenal. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a typical citrus aquatic. I do like the Aqua di Gio DNA. I mean, we all do, right? I tend to prefer sweeter fragrances, but when it comes to freshies, man, I love this. Okay, next one's a weird story. In the middle of the lockdown, like, I live in Ontario, we were locked down huge during the pandemic, and at one point you literally couldn't go to drugstores and test fragrances. So I did a workaround. What I did was I would go to the dollar store and spend $3 on fragrances that were very similar to ones that I had seen on YouTube, just to get a rough idea, like, kind of sampling them. And for $3, I figured it was worth it. Now, this one was this is called Lucky Winner, and I have no idea who makes it. It was a company in India, and when I picked it up, it said that it actually smelled like Jora Sport. Now, I hadn't heard much about Jora Sport, but I picked it up anyway. It's $3. I really like this. This is going to sound crazy. I really do. It's very synthetic, but it's one of those synthetic smells that I really like anyway. And so I would spray this on the inside of my mask. And I thought, okay, well, I really like this. So, if I like this $3 fragrance, well, then I'm going to love the real, Jora Sport. Unfortunately for me, I did not know the history of Jora Sport, and I did not know that the 2017 version, which this is, was generally considered to be a low watermark for Dior. And I spent a fortune on this. I bought the 125 mil instead of the 75 because I knew I liked it, right? Yeah, this was a really bad day. This is about a 4 at best. It's not a bad fragrance. It's just boring. It's not up to Dior standards. It's, it's just a typical boring citrus fragrance. Now, this last one is the very first fragrance that I ever purchased when I started collecting in 2019. And I ordered it at Amazon, paid too much for it, but I'll never forget the day I tried it. And it meant a lot to me. It always will. It's just a 30 mil of Armani Code. And I actually got lucky. I bought it in 2019, but this bottle was from 2012. So it's really potent. It hadn't been watered down. And the performance is phenomenal on this. And I really like the Armani Code line. All the sweet Armani Code fragrances that's my style. So I got lucky with my first purchase. But yeah, so hopefully something on there will ring a bell with you guys. And yeah, all of these were holy grails. All of these, I was just like, oh, please get here, that kind of thing. Thanks for watching, guys.